Hey everybody, ronarray here, and I'm a very big Unarmed fan. So in 0.3, I'm going to play a variation of Unarmed builds for sure. So in this video, I want to showcase my Unarmed Deadeye build concept. Please keep in mind that it's also not final and there are going to be updates for it. Myself, I'm still torn between Deadeye and Monk for Unarmed build, and I'm probably going to support both guides in this league since both look great. Let me know in the comments which one in your opinion I should take. And feel free to subscribe to the channel and check out the guides and the pinned comment for updates, since we still don't have all necessary information, including the tree. And all of the guides will be updated ASAP when we will have that info. Right now, let's focus on what we already know and why Deadeye is a nice choice for Unarmed. So initially, from the Tailwind we will be able to receive a lot of additional attack speed, and it's going to stack pretty well with bonuses that you're receiving just from whole palm techniques, which providing a lot of attack speed and critical hit chance too. It's also pretty easy to repick to other builds. For example, Unarmed is not going to be too strong, or if you will dislike the playstyle. There's like a lot of different builds for Deadeye, from like bows to spells, so you can never go wrong with it. And on top of it, you will also have a pretty nice mark interaction, because there's like a new way to apply mark with a meta skill for Deadeye, which is going to give you a very good uptime for marks and charge generation if it will be necessary. As a downside, we still don't know how Cold Shot's meta skill is going to work, and there is a chance that it will be locked for projectiles only. However, I don't think it's going to be the case, and I think it's just going to apply the mark automatically. It doesn't matter if you're using a bow or not using a bow at all. So that's why Deadeye is looking like a very decent choice, because you have a set of cool bonuses, the build is going to be even faster, and I think the mark interaction can open the way to at least a few interesting concepts, just aside from basic interaction with Unarmed, which is Ice Strike, Tempest Flurry and Storm Wave. Let's go, and I will be able to explain how our leveling is going to work and how I would level that concept in general. So initially, when you just started playing, you're going to use 3 skills, which is Lightning Arrow together with Lightning Rod and Stormcaller Arrow. You will be able to swap the melee around level 15 or level 22. For a safe option, I definitely recommend level 22, because when we are looking at the tree, you will be able to reach Unarmed right here, around level 22-24 if you will just go for it. Right now, we don't know what the scaling for the Unarmed is going to be, and it will be a pretty risky gamble to just go for Unarmed immediately. However, that's pretty much what I'm going to do myself, even if it's going to be risky. If you're not sure about it, you always will be able to use your attacks together with like a quarter staff to clear the campaign. So initially, you're going to run Lightning Arrow, Lightning Rod and Stormcaller Arrow. It's a pretty easy combination, and you will be able to get like similar supports in different skill right now. So Scatter Shot is going to be played with Lightning Rod together with like Lightning Infusion for a single target. That way you're just going to cast Lightning Rod, and after it you will be able to use your Lightning Arrow together with Chain and Martial Tempo to trigger it. So that's your single target combination. You don't really care about damage of Lightning Arrows that much. And when you're running through the box and just clearing, I believe that Stormcaller Arrow is probably going to be one of the best options. For it, you will be able to use like Martial Tempo together with Scatter Shot to use 3 arrows like that, because similar supports are available. If you will not have enough Scatter Shots, you always will be able to just repick them. But that combination should work pretty good and should move you to level 22 without a lot of issues. So you're just hitting a Stormcaller Arrow and it's blowing enemies up at any particular moment when you need that. So that's the combo that you're going to finish most, like the whole first act with, and the part of the second act too. So around level 22 you will have an option to repick to melee, as I already mentioned, and right here you can just run 2 possible variations. It's pretty much Storm Wave together with like Martial Tempo and Light Infusion. After that, you will be able to add like Primal as support for even more damage, and it should be pretty comfortable to speed you up through the campaign. If you want to be even faster, especially against single target, you can run Tempest Flurry or Ice Strike with the same fashion. So for Tempest Flurry, it should be literally the same supports like with Storm Wave. You should just run like Martial Tempo and Lightning Infusion, and it should be pretty comfortable to kick everything with Tempest Flurry, but you will have less AoE in campaign. For AoE, you can just run Storm Wave, or you can run Ice Strike. For Ice Strike, I recommend to run like Cold Infusion together with Martial Tempo, and that will be more than enough to feel comfortable as well. So Ice Strike is a little different, because you're staying in place and not moving forward in the same fashion like when you're using Tempest Flurry. But it's still a pretty good ability. And you can also use a Tempest Bell if you're going to use one of the strikes. Myself, I usually prefer to run Storm Wave because it's a very comfortable skill, it hits enemies from a distance, and I believe for a campaign it's feeling pretty alright. But if you will want more damage against bosses, for example, you will be able to run like Ice Strike, you will be able to run Tempest Bell, and skills like that. Pick the poison that you will like yourself and which suits your playstyle the most. At higher levels, especially when you're finishing the campaign, I believe it would be a great idea to just use a Tempest Flurry and probably keep the wave only for clearing. You can also try to combine those abilities, so for running Tempest Flurry with the same supports as Storm Wave and use Storm Wave for clear, and Tempest Flurry together with Bell for bossing. I'm going to showcase that approach in the guide. Ice Strike by itself is a very good option too, because it provides a lot of crowd control, but I don't really like it because it's not really moving your character forward, and I would probably wait at least a little until fully converting into it. However, I believe that with Unarmed you will be able to properly clear most of the campaign. If the scaling will be too bad, you also can just pick a basic quarterstaff like I have right here, and it will be more than enough to carry you through. Just keep in mind that if the scaling is going to be bad and you're going to use a quarterstaff, you will constantly need to update it. Don't forget, because it's going to make your experience significantly easier. Another important thing that we need to mention is pretty much a mark. Since we are playing the Deadeye, we will have a pretty decent option how to apply the mark to an enemy. I think your first part of Ascendancy still should be Tailwind, but mark probably is going to be the second. So when you will get an automated mark on enemies around you, you will need to pick one mark out of the three. So it's Freezing Mark, Sniper Mark, or Voltaic Mark. I believe that for clearing, Voltaic Mark is probably going to be the best. So that way, if you're using the skill which is shocking, so like Tempest Flurry or Storm Wave, you can pick Voltaic Mark and literally reapply it to enemies around you. It's going to provide a pretty nice Nova with a decent AoE and additional lightning damage, which you can buff with basic stuff such as Magnified effect, and it should be pretty comfortable. For a single target, on the other hand, I believe that Sniper Mark is probably going to be the best. So I would literally change which mark your build is currently applying based on the situation, so just like Voltaic for clearing and Sniper for single target. However, Sniper is not going to be too effective until you will get enough critical damage, so don't focus too much on it and you can just run with basic Voltaic if you like it. Now let's talk about Ascendancy and our options. So the first Ascendancy that you should take should be definitely Gathering Wind. Gathering Wind is going to provide Tailwind, so you're going to be significantly faster when you're attacking non-stop, which is very good. The next step is pretty much Cold Shots, which is changing how it's working. It's not going to apply an additional mark, instead you will get like a meta skill, which will take some energy and will reapply mark to enemies around you, which is very good, and I think it should be a second option. After that, you will be able to get like Eagle Eyes, because it's going to give you a critical weakness when mark is consumed, so it's going to be different again, not what you can see on the screen right now. And the last Ascendancy for that, in my opinion, should be Wind Ward for less damage taken per Tailwind. And when we are talking about the trees, there are going to be a few small changes. You can check the 3 together with updates within the guides that I will link in both description and pin comment. But right now, initially, I recommend to just go for projectile damage like that. Take all possible projectile damage nodes right here. And after that, start going for blinding strike right here. So I recommend to go through that, taking dexterity, reaching the blind strike. And after that, I will just push for Hollow Palm, which is going to be located right here. So for Hollow Palm, we'll need to go like that, and we will reach it very early, approximately like level 22, if you will not take anything else, except what you can see on the screen right now. So that's what I would go for. And it could be kinda tricky, because when you will take Hollow Palm, the scaling should be good enough for you to carry through the campaign. If it will not be good enough, I recommend to just drop Hollow Palm, keep it for later, like for the end of the campaign, and use quarter stuff instead, as I already mentioned. So when you reach that, you don't really need projectiles anymore, so you can drop Clean Shot. Instead, you can take Vile Wounds, change 2 points right here. And additionally, you can also take like Harness Elements. It will be approximately like level 24-25 when you will get your 3 like that to pretty much play your melee. After that, you can also take like Harmonic Generator, you can reach 10 full attacks, and I recommend to move to the left side. So in particular, it would be great if you can just reach more of the Monk nodes, getting more bonuses right here. And that's how it should go in general. You can also save a few points if you will decide to move through that part. And if you don't really need Dual Socket at the moment, you can stop at something like that. So after you will finish with that part, and you will move like to later levels, that's level 44, so you should be closer to the end of the campaign at the moment, I recommend to start investing into crit, so taking like Moment of Truth right here, progressing here, to take Stack Through and all possible crit bonuses around there, together with Throat Seeker and bonuses here. Another interesting part is pretty much how Quarter Staves nodes are going to work. For now, we are still not sure if those nodes are going to work for like Hollow Palm or not. So right now, I'm expecting that those are not going to work. But if they will, we can always just invest a few points here and there to get additional attack speed and to get additional crit all over the place. And if you're going to play a freeze, there's like a very big point to go for Exposed to the Cosmos and take more penetration from Snowpiercer. However, if you're going to play Lightning instead, you can always just pick like Wild Storm right here, because it could be pretty nice for Lightning builds. And even Exposed to the Storm too, because it's making some particular suns during the campaign, so that should be like level 63 approximately. And you already investing into the crit pretty good. So after it, just taking more crit all across the board, and I believe that going up for Chaos Inoculation is a very good idea. I'm not sure if Chaos Inoculation is going to be the part of the build, we still will need to test it, but I think with better gear transitioning to it could be a very good idea, because it will give you immunity to Chaos damage and to bleeding. However, regenerating Energy Shield right now would be a pretty big issue, and you will need to literally expect the recharge. That way, getting like additional recharge everywhere would make a lot of sense. So if you're going for Chaos Inoculation, I would definitely recommend to take like Convalescence up there. I probably will recommend to take additional recharge right here for faster start. And if you're going for more Energy Shield, it's also making sense to go to the left. That way, since you're level too high, you can literally drop some nodes for the damage, which you don't really need that much, and just focus on getting more recharge to have your Energy Shield up. That's pretty much how you should end up, and it should be pretty alright for level like 80 approximately. Make sure that you are taking enough bonuses and your tree is balanced enough. I'm going to update the tree in the guides later on when I will be able to play and test it at least a little, because right now it could be a little hard to guess how good exactly is going to work, and if such approach will be too popular, like too good overall. Especially with Energy Shield. If you're not going for Chaos Inoculation, it could be much easier because that way you can drop a lot of Energy Shield recharge all across the board and invest it, for example, into evasion rating in various places, so you will be able to exchange it a little like that. Maybe even getting more crit all across the board too. So that's pretty much where you should be at the moment. Maybe take an additional evasion rating and energy shields notes right here. You will see more examples of the three in the written guides, which I'm going to link. So that's pretty much where we're currently at. Now let's talk about the stats. A pretty important part is that to use all the melee skills that we are going to use with Unarmed, we will need both intelligence and dexterity. So make sure that you're balancing your stats. You will need a little more dexterity than intelligence, but you always will need at least some int, so you will be able to use most of your skills, most of your weapons, and stuff like that. There's also a few nodes which are pretty good and kinda close if you need stats. So for example, Step Like Mist right here can give you +5 to dexterity and intelligence, and you can just spend 3 additional points to reach it early. It's also providing movement speed, so it could be a pretty nice solution even early on. Same with like Flow Like Water, so if you feel like you need much more stats in general, you can always spend 3 points right here. Instead of going for more damage, take Step Like Mist, get some mana, get dexterity with intelligence, and additional movement speed, and after it, spending 4 more points, you will get more defenses and Flow Like Water for even more attack speed, which is pretty nice solution. However, since we are passing through a lot of small nodes, it will be absolutely logical that we will not have a lot of issues with stats. Another interesting fix for stats: since we are starting the Deadeye, we don't really need that point with increased projectile damage. Initially, when you're swapping to melee, I recommend to just replace projectile damage with attack speed, but if you feel like your stats are not in a good place, you can always take dexterity and intelligence here and get rid of 3 points right there. Losing 6% of attack speed is not going to be a very big issue, but it's going to be much more comfortable because you will be able to balance your stats. Talking about campaign progression and items, it's also very important to understand that most our items should have both evasion and energy shield, because a hollow palm is going to scale with both of those stats. And it leads us to a pretty important question: what is more important, evasion or energy shield? I believe that initially, evasion is going to play a bigger role, because that's going to give you attack speed, and attack speed is going to be much more effective than crit, especially during campaign. So most of the time, if you can have like body armor with energy shield or with evasion, always go with evasion. Another important part, if you can have like a good hybrid, going for a good hybrid will be the best idea. And since we are currently running Subterfuge Mask in almost all setups of the build, because it's one of the best defensive nodes that we have, it's pretty important to have helmet with mostly energy shield. So you can run practically any helmet at the moment, which will have as much energy shield as possible, because it's going to give you additional evasion as well. That way, if you're running the helmet with only energy shield, running boots and gloves with only evasion also making perfect sense, because it will help you out balance your stats. And if you're not going to play Chaos Inoculation, so you're not going to take it, you can just run all items hybrid except the helmet. If you are taking Chaos Inoculation, you will probably need to get like a little more energy shield, especially on body armor and helmet, as I already mentioned. And another important part, since big part of your damage, even during the campaign, is going to stack with those items, make sure that you're repicking at least body armor as often as possible while you're leveling, because there's like a lot of different bases, as you can see. They're pretty much coming very often: 33, 39, 45, 48, 51, and so on and so on and so on. Make sure that you're replacing your body armor as often as possible, as you would do with a weapon, because your body armor is going to provide the biggest numbers for your evasion rating and energy shield, and going to give you a pretty decent damage boost. And another important part, which is going to play a pretty significant role during almost any campaign, is cannibalism, clarity and vitality. You definitely will need to use at least some of them. Initially, I recommend to use just Herald of Ash to carry them, but later on you can replace it with Wind Dancer if it's going to be more of your jam. So cannibalism is going to give you regenerating, recovering life on kill, and clarity is going to give you mana. I'm not sure that mana will be that necessary, especially since GG is nerfing mana cost again, so it will be easier to maintain it. But I think clarity is still feeling pretty good, especially for only 10 spirit. And cannibalism is feeling absolutely amazing while you are clearing the zones, because it's going to just help you to always be at the maximum life. For the bosses, there's a point to drop cannibalism or maybe even together with clarity and replace it with vitality, so you will be able to regenerate a little life here and there. Especially if you struggle with bosses, it could help you a lot, so don't forget about such cool possibility. So that's been the quick rundown through my whole league starter for Unarmed Deadeye. Hope it's been helpful for you and you will have an amazing league start with it. Feel free to follow the guides that I linked both in the description and the pinned comment, and subscribe to the channel if you want to follow the journey as well. Thank you very much for watching, and the next video is probably going to be about Unarmed Monk and all the difference it has against the Deadeye. See you next time, and ronarray out.